Thanks for that scripture reading. In our text for communion, we saw this very intimate moment in the life of Christ as he's going to pray before going to the cross. He was in total anguish, and he let a few disciples in and shared how he felt. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what he was going to be facing. I can't imagine the horror of it all. Such a heavy moment. But this text we just read in John, it shows us what Jesus was praying about. You know, imagine your last few moments on earth. What would you pray about? It'd be something really important to you, right? Probably your loved ones. That's what Jesus did. Before this text we read, he prays for his disciples. Then in the scripture Cody Bob just read, he prayed for us. Those who would believe because of the disciples. That's us. He was praying for us. And it's interesting, he didn't pray for all the things that we get worked up about. He didn't pray that they have proper worship and sound doctrine, which are typically arguments that tend to divide us, actually. He almost prayed the opposite, that we're unified, that we love each other well, that we love each other so well in a way that it shows Jesus really is who he says he was. I have a picture here of, this is the final prayer of Jesus was for unity. The picture there of the tree, that's a picture that Steve Templeton gave me from when he went to Israel. And so that's a present day picture of the Garden of Gethsemane where Jesus prayed. This prayer of Jesus, it shows that the church, the community of believers, that our unity matters a lot. It matters a lot. And look, community is difficult. Being with people is difficult, and Jesus knew that. And that's why he prayed about it. Because here, if you're in any community, it's not just, sometimes people say, oh, church people hurt me so bad, but any community can hurt your feelings and be difficult. In any community, there's fights, there's arguments, there's hurt feelings, there's brokenness, and there's weird people everywhere. And it's hard. And our society is really affirming, if you don't like community, cut it out. If you don't like people, X them out. In 2023, get rid of all those toxic relationships. Get all the bad people out of your life. Withdraw, unfriend, block. But Jesus' prayer says, please don't do that. Please don't X people out of your lives. Please don't live on an island isolated from people. Yes, community is hard. Don't abandon it. It's important. Work these things out. So, labeling people, thinking about this, I just want to kind of a little side note, because we're going to talk about community and being together. I think labeling people as an introvert or an extrovert isn't totally fair. It's kind of a continuum, right? There's some people who definitely fit the bill of one or another. How many out there, how many of you would say, I'm an extrovert. I love being around people. It energizes me. I love working on teams. I love friend networks. Yeah, a few of you. I'm not even going to ask. Don't worry, introverts. I won't make you raise your hand. But some say what determines if you're an introvert or an extrovert is actually how you recharge. Extroverts recharge by being with people, whereas introverts, they need to go and be alone. And if that's how you define it, I am an introvert to a T. I love people. I love being with people, but y'all kind of make me need to take a nap. A lot of people are surprised when I say, I'm kind of an introvert, but I really am. Or maybe I would almost say, again, because I think it's not fair to define people, I would say maybe I'm an ambivalent extrovert. I like being with people. But all that to say, the message this morning is a lot about how you need people. And for extroverts, you kind of already know that. So maybe I'm speaking more to the introverts, the people who are like, I don't want to do this. I don't need people. I want to be alone. Because people are difficult. Even the most introverted of us, even the biggest introverts, we still need human connection. We need encouragement. We need someone to laugh with. I was thinking the other day of watching something funny by yourself, like if you watch a TV show, if a TV show or comedian or someone can make you laugh by yourself, that's really impressive. I don't know what it is about watching something funny with people. You're more inclined to laugh at something. You ever notice that? It's always funnier with people. It's funnier with the group. So you need that. You need people to share yourself with. Don't miss out, introverts, on this beautiful part of the human experience of being together. And I think you'll also realize it, and this is something I read about this during COVID, during the big COVID shutdown, is that people realized you can love your spouse, love them, but they're not going to be the complete answer to loneliness. You need more than just that one person. You need a community. You need multiple people. So this morning, as we think about, again, I don't want to use the word New Year's resolutions, but as we think about kind of this idea of wanting to spend a little more time with people, a third of people are saying, I want to spend more time with friends and family. I want to share with you some things to do that maybe won't be too hard. I'm going to give you guys lots of ideas, and you don't got to do all of them, but some things to do that might reform your connections to people a little bit without having to change a whole lot. And so one I want to mention here is make room for new people. Like I mentioned earlier, during COVID, our circles got a lot smaller, right? You didn't really know, I don't know what these people, I don't know how they feel about this. I don't know if I should go hang out with them. So you only hang out with the people that you're really close to. And that was kind of a good thing maybe, because maybe that actually made some of our relationships became closer. I got closer to some people during COVID. Those relationships maybe got more intimate, and that's a good thing. But with some friendships, they might have actually become more distant. You might have actually disconnected with a lot of people. Maybe you put more walls up with people. Maybe you were just staying in your little comfort zone of this small circle that you kind of formed during COVID. A few friends who think, look, and act like you. And that's nice and it's comfortable. But as Christians, as people who want to grow as individuals, as people who want to grow our community, we're called to make space. We're called to be a people of welcome. So we need to make sure we have room for new people, room for other friends, or maybe room to let old friends back in. Maybe that means going to Sunday lunch with someone different than you normally do, or inviting an extra couple to come hang out when you're going and hanging out. Really, one of the reasons I say this is I know I almost don't like giving these kind of sermons because about, hey, you should go connect with more people. Because I know there's some people who are like, I want that. I've wanted that connection. I've wanted that group. I've wanted those friends, but I just can't seem to get there. And that's tough. And if you're in that spot, I'm sorry. It makes me sad. It makes me sad to give this message of you should have more connection when you kind of feel like, I've been trying and it ain't happening. And I found that, and I've been there. I've had to move a lot as an adult and as a kid. And I found that small communities like Abilene, maybe even smaller churches like Westgate, sometimes, not always, sometimes, it's kind of hard to get in. It's kind of hard to get in that group, hard to get those relationships when maybe everybody feels full. I've kind of set in my ways. I have my friends. I have my people. There's no more room here. But we need to have the welcome of Christ that makes space for people. And knowing that, one, it's going to bless those people because there's people who want community. So we need to make space for that. But on the other side of that, making room for others is good for us because we're stretched. As we engage with people who aren't just like us, who maybe have different views, who have different ideas, maybe have some cool insights we've never thought about, and maybe we'll find, hey, I didn't know this person, but they are super cool. They're really insightful. And they're way different than me. One of the things, I don't like funerals at all. One of the things I really don't like at funerals is when I'm hearing all these really cool things about this person that I never knew. I'm like, I had no idea, man. We should have been hanging out. Why didn't I know this? That bugs me. To know there's these really cool people that went to Westgate that I should have been chilling with, that I should have been hanging out with. I wish I had more room. I wish we had more room in our lives to mix it up more. And so that's what, make room for people. So be thinking about that. How can I make room for more people in 2023. And I know that's really challenging in our busy schedules. And so the things I'm going to mention here, they'll all kind of blend together. If you're like me and you don't know much about technology or just how to change anything on your phone, you probably got a reminder this morning of how much time you spent on your phone this week. Any of you guys get that? And it kind of tells you your average hours that you've spent, which is actually kind of cool because you can check it out in all its detail. But really what it's showing you is kind of all this extra time you could have had. Maybe extra time. A lot of times we're on our phone, we're multitasking, right? Mind you, some of that is, putting on music or just picking it up and looking at it. But a lot of us, we know we're wasting too much time on social media. Like I said last week, that's another big resolution for 2023 is less time on social media. So you're seeing people say, I want to spend less time on social media, more time for friends and family. Those two things are correlated. Those two things are really connected. Americans are spending half the amount of time they did with friends 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we are hanging out with friends twice as much as we are now. Isn't that crazy? That's a culture-changing shift. Half the time with friends. And that's including kids. Kids aren't hanging out as much together half the time. That's a lot of loneliness. And if we're honest, probably a lot of screen time. We are sacrificing face-to-face hangout time together for shows, social media, and screen time. Social media really probably took off about 10 years ago, about the time that this happened. It was there before that, but by about 2012-ish, that was when everybody was on social media. Everybody had one. And that's when there was a major rise in loneliness. So we're spending more time on screens and social media, less time in face-to-face relationships, and it's taking a toll. Have any of you ever tried to get full from eating junk food? You ever tried to get full from eating Oreos and potato chips? Don't answer that. Me neither. But it's really gross, right? You don't feel full. You aren't satisfied. You need some protein. You need something moderately healthy to make you feel full. And I think we've discovered that social media is like junk food of social connection. It's not gonna cut it. Like potato chips, if you're on it too much, you're on social media too long, you're not gonna feel full. You're just gonna feel like you need more and more, and you're gonna feel kind of gross. Social media is not a healthy cure for loneliness, but we're trying to do that. We've replaced face-to-face interaction with social media interaction, and it's just not cutting it. So less time on social media, more face-to-face interaction is a great New Year's resolution. But I know that's actually hard. It's actually for a lot of people to say cut back on social media time, it's like an addiction. It's really difficult. You feel like you're disconnected when you're not on there. So that's really hard. And so I want to give you, that may sound too daunting. So and really to kind of talk about, here's some ways to reduce social media interaction. That's a whole nother message, a whole nother topic. What I want to give you is just a few ways to reform, just a little bit of reform on your social media, texting, screen time that could help. And so one is save a lot of, if you're going to text somebody an encouragement or a thank you or whatever, maybe wait and save that for face-to-face. There are a lot of things, a lot of nice things I've said, a lot of encouragements I've said, a lot of thank yous that I've said that should have been saved, that were too sacred for just a message. I should have said that to their face. There are some things that need to be so sacred that this is going to be at least a phone call. And I know you can't always do that. I know sometimes you got to send it automatically. I know some people live too far away. But let's save some of the heaviest, some of the most beautiful, some of the most sacred things that we want to communicate to somebody. Save that for face-to-face. Now, that's just a little adjustment. I think you can do that one. I will say I've always practiced that one. The one big flaw with that is sometimes you forget. So you got to make some kind of mental note to, I want to say this to this person. I'm going to wait. I'm going to do it to their face. I'm not just going to send a message. It's much richer when it's face to face. And then the other one, maybe you could think of social media as a tool to move towards face-to-face interaction. Use social media to set up dates and activities that lead to face-to-face stuff. Don't comment something nice on a post about someone's kid's game. Go to their game. Don't like the new pic of their baby. Go see their baby. Some of us kind of live in this social media world, this digital world, and we need to just kind of view that as, hey, this shows me how I can better engage in person. So think of it as a tool. Anytime you can connect with people in person over social media, take it. I always think of it as just a tool to moving face to face. If your kid or your friend wants your attention because you're on social media or because you're on your phone, put it down. The person in front of you in the real world is always more important than the person in the digital world on your phone. So again, I know maybe this sounds a little more daunting, but I think just small changes can help here. Another reason we're having trouble spending time with friends and family is our society is just too busy. We're just too busy. Trying to make money, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to raise kids from every extracurricular activity. It's exhausting. And as good as all that stuff can be, it's taking place of relationships that fill us up. And again, I know that's another and that really is kind of a common New Year's resolution, is to slow down a little bit. And I know that's another one that's kind of easier said than done. Just like reducing social media use is easier said than done. And so I've tried to put together a few simple ways to work friends in. There are ways to do this that's not life-altering. That's not just changing up everything we do. And so here we go. Here's a few. And again, these may not all apply to everybody, but maybe here's a few things you can give a try. Is when you're hanging out with friends, you don't have to go all out. That has actually kept me from engaging in some relationships. It's I want to go hang out with these people, but our house has to be spotless. And I don't really know what to cook. I got to put something really nice together. You know what? Maybe it'd be a lot easier if I was just you know what? The house can just be okay. And if we just have to order pizza, we can. You don't have to go all out. I think sometimes feeling like you have to have this big production when you get together as friends, it makes you less likely to get together. So, similarly, if money is tight, if time is tight, you don't got to have this big, when you meet for lunch, you don't have to have this big fancy lunch. Just go to Taco Bueno. That 30-minute, go to Taco Bueno, Adam. It's better than Taco Bell. But you go there and, in just that little amount of time, just that 30 minutes there can be really life-giving. A little bit of time can be good. So you don't have to go all out to get together with friends. Don't let that keep you from engaging with people. Another one is do chores together. And again, this is one that's hard. You kind of got to be pretty solid friends before you're hey, come help me clean my house. But have you ever built a fence with friends? That's fun. I've painted a house with friends. That's fun. Digging post holes with friends is kind of fun. But there's some things you can do together as friends that are easy, and it makes it way more enjoyable. It makes it way more fun. So do chores together. Exercise together if you're into that. My introvert, I can't do that. I got to do that by myself. But for some of you, that can be a great way to hang out, exercise together. So find those things that you would be doing anyway, and bring a friend along. That's a good way to start engaging with more people. I think I mentioned lunch dates. That's an easy one. Another cool one is go to kids' events. Sit with the family at the kids' choir concert. Sit with them at their volleyball or basketball game. This year, I've been to a couple of games at Madison, and we got several teachers there. We got kids playing there. Man, that's fun. That's fun, sitting in the stands with a bunch of Westgate people and cheering on Kaylin, and Kaylin trash talking my daughter on the sidelines. But it's fun. So yeah, find way, again, kind of stuff that is already happening. Just go there and engage with them. And then another one is call while doing mindless tasks. Maybe while you're busy or while you're commuting. I have a former student who always calls me at random times, but I always know when he's calling me that he's commuting to Tulsa. He's got a 45-minute drive, and he always calls in to check in on me. And that's great. Him doing that has been able to maintain this relationship over 14 years. And so I love that he does that. And then another one, this is kind of a bonus one. These are all ways you can work that stuff in without having to alter your schedule a whole lot. Here I have it split up, written here. And what I mean by that, and this makes relationships much richer, especially for families that have a ton of kids, is sometimes just have, hey, mom's going to go with this one, dad's going to go with this one, with this kid. So it can be a daddy-daughter date or a father-son thing. You know, me and my son, we like to go eat Buffalo Wild Wings together. Mix that up. I found that kids need that one-on-one time with parents so bad, because it's so often that kids are competing with each other for parents' attention, for time together. And so in 2023, I think that's a good one, is to say, hey, you know what? We're going to have time where it's just one-on-one time with this kid. And I guess one other thing I'll say is with like daddy-daughter dates, one of the things they say is, okay, yeah, sometimes, sweep her off her feet, go to that nice place. But sometimes dads need to just have one-on-one time when in the monotony. Hey, we're going to go to the grocery store together. Hey, we're going to go do these little chores together, because you don't want to like set up this idea that, a man should always be sweeping you off your feet and that's it. No, sometimes part of being in a relationship is going to Target together, going to the grocery store together, but also realizing that, hey, when we do these little things together, it's more fun and it's better together. So look, I've given you guys a lot of things to think about this morning. A lot of things that you can adapt and work through. And like I said, maybe some of it's applicable, maybe some of it's not. But sometimes I feel overwhelmed with all of my relationships, and I feel like almost like I'm letting people down. And sometimes I'm not the best friend that I need to be, because I feel like overextended. But I think most people get that. But what I really want you to realize this morning is God really values relationships. He values a relationship with you. But he also he has put some good relationships in your life. And I think there's also some good relationships that you haven't found yet, that you haven't discovered yet. So we need to be open to that. But I also want you to be thinking of, how can I, without having to make all these lofty life changes, what are some just small adjustments I can make that will make my relationships richer? And in doing so, I believe God will shape you. I think you will be better invested in him when you choose those relationships well. And so it's my prayer that Christ will be in these relationships and will work in those relationships. And if you're here this morning, if you want to give your life to him, or if you have any other need at all, we invite you to come now as together we stand and sing.